Alright, hello everybody. My name is eroadhouse, and I'm joined today by my co-commentator Zach. And today I'm going to be running LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga free play. Basically just beating every level in free play. Yep, alright. We start on Jedi Destiny. That'll be explained in a little bit. And
Yeah, so this level's pretty inconsistent in
timing
full game runs.
Now, by the way.
Yeah, so as you'll see, he's going to be doing Ultra Kill, but the free play variant of it where we just push him in with Grievous. For those of you who are familiar with the TCS run already, you can just skip this entire level, but as you can see, this is why it's inconsistent. The Emperor is pretty hard to maneuver with Grievous. You know, player 2 getting in the way here can be very difficult to push him into the pit because, yeah, as you can see. You can slash him, which helps you move him, but then finally get a chance to actually push him into the hole, and it will kill him. As you can see, by the way, disguises are on, and that is not the only extra that is enabled. It is every single one, besides I believe silhouettes. Every other extra that was a donation incentive that was met for $45. So thank you to everyone who donated. And you guys will probably see some pretty funny moments throughout this run, because it will make things a little interesting, although hopefully nothing catastrophic as we get into the opening up into the Death Star here. Yes, that is the goal. Mainly the weird things will be, so force push is replaced with force pull. Just a reminder. Yeah. And extra toggle is on, which means that the character wheel will be a little different in quite a few levels, which can actually matter a lot for triple jumping. For example, in Jabba's, you will see some interesting movement, we'll put it that way. Yeah, a lot of interesting characters on Jabba's. I believe it adds 5 extra toggle characters in that level, as well as things like the skeleton in Dagobah. But enough about the extras. So the run, as you can see here, we start with the ultra kill in Jedi Destiny. We get right into our first ship level, and we get to show off Arc Fighter clipping, which is used throughout the run in I think every ship level besides Pod Race and Coruscant. And it's pretty cool because the Arc Fighter has such a big hitbox, while ships like the Pod Racer and even like this Jedi Starfighter are smaller. So it allows you to basically, the same way that Yoda clipping works, shift your hurtbox just enough so that when you go up to a wall with the Pod Racer and then switch to the Arc Fighter, it'll just put them in the wall and you're able to go right through, which is a pretty cool feature. It does make a lot of these ship levels more fast-paced and honestly more bearable because they can be somewhat boring sometimes, but here in the end section is also kind of some cool movement that we get to see, which is just the kind of the idea is, we want to keep the Pod Racer movement the whole time, but there's a lot of obstacles in the way, so we do some very specific movement to navigate around the obstacles. As you'll see here with these red barriers, we can stay on certain edges of the wall to avoid hitting any obstacles, but we will have to shoot a couple of them just to be safe.
And I think this is a good time to note why we start on episode 6 too. The reason we start at the end of all the levels is because Droideka spawns on the left side of the door every time, and just for routing purposes for like the actual level rooms, we want to start at the end of the episode so that we don't have to go all the way back up when we're leaving it. So that's why we start at the end.
Only episode where we go up, I believe, is, well, so we go up on 4 actually, and we go up on 1, and the reason we go up on 4 is because when you end Secret Plans, you have to end as R2 because the panel at the very end, and you don't actually have time to switch back, and we do not want R2 in the cantina all the way to episode 3. And then obviously we end up on 1 because we don't need to go back down at any point. So obviously we're seeing our first taste of extra toggle here. There's quite a few extra toggle characters in this level as well. There's like Womp-Rat and like some other ones. Yeah, so this level is actually one of the hardest free play levels, just because this is one of the most 1P2C laced levels in the entire run. And there's a lot of very specific movement.
Oh my gosh.
All movement. Oh my god, that guy just came up there with you. That's crazy. Yeah, a lot of characters to go through. Yeah, and as you'll notice, these stormtroopers are wielding carrots instead of their normal blasters. That will pretty much disarm them, if you will.
Yeah.
To, catch my drift.
And what I'm doing a lot here is called triple jumping. We didn't really explain that either. Basically, if you double jump slam with any lightsaber character, and then switch right after, you can actually get a lot more height. So that's one of the biggest pieces of tech that we use in free play.
I guess the other piece of tech that's being showed off is animation canceling, which is kind of a similar concept. Basically, the only reason free play is so broken is because of the character switching ability, which lets you switch to any character, technically at any point wherever you are, pretty much. So that'll let you triple jump because when you slam, you get shot upwards from the beginning of the slam, and funnily enough, you can just switch while you're moving upwards, and it'll never move you down like the end of the slam would. And then, as you can see here, he's able to shoot and then switch to a different character and then switch back to Droideka, and that'll cancel the end lag of the long Droideka shot that you're probably used to seeing the AI do at some points. The bunker is also an interesting room here in free play because we have to do it a very specific way. It's very important that we, one, pretty much kill everyone, and two, we are also going to do a very interesting strat here on the right side to pull the lever, hopefully, which is going to involve a very interesting sort of way to manipulate the AI. So as you see, he pulls his gun out there. When we call in player 2, the lever is just pulled. This is because when we call in player 2, the gun that he's pulled out, he's actually going to put that away because he wants to de-aggro. And when he de-aggros, he presses the special button. For some reason, the AI can press the special button in this game. And so he puts his gun away by pressing the special button, and just while he's standing on the lever, decides to pull the lever because it's the same button. Very interesting.
We'll see if I got the right characters there.
Yeah, I have no idea if you did.
I think I did. That might be switched. Okay.
Okay. Not too bad. Could have been worse. One of the coolest parts about extra toggle, or maybe the only cool part about extra toggle, is in this level, as you'll see, it actually saves time. And look at that. All right, this is interesting. So he actually got Yoda as his player 2. Now, the one thing about getting Yoda is he's going to do a piece of tech here coming up twice in this level, once in this room and once in the next room, called a wall climb. And by triple jumping to a different character and then switching back to Grievous while he is in the wall and going neutral, it's a very specific set of inputs. He's actually going to be able to get another triple jump in the wall. And if he chains those together, like he is doing here, he will be able to just... Oh, well, didn't get enough height there, but yeah, he'll be able to just roll right over the wall, get a sequence of triple jumps to get a lot of extra height. You can actually do it in quite a few places in this game. And it's kind of like clipping into the wall, but not exactly. But yeah, as you can see, he does another one there. And the one interesting thing is that Yoda makes that wall climb a lot harder. So having extra toggle there is actually what you would do in a normal run. You would turn it on because Yoda, being very small and slow in the air, makes it very, very awkward to triple jump with him.
Yeah, and you'll see the... I guess we'll point it out when it happens, but this trooper we have right here can walk like an insane amount of distance during cutscenes for some reason.
I believe it's because he jumps out faster. I mean, he is called the AT-AT driver, so it does check out, but it's very odd. As you can see, he's going to walk all the way to this lever, pretty much, which I have absolutely no idea why. Yeah, very interesting.
Oh, those are not the characters that we want.
Well, it should give you Grievous, right? Or maybe Yoda.
I think I get...
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Okay, not bad. Well, yeah. We'll see a lot of this throughout the run. Let's just put it that way. Your $45 is well spent, everyone. Okay, so this is a very, very cool level. A lot of cool movement tech. We're gonna see a few triple jumps, some Yoda movement. Yoda movement, as you'll see, because this is the first level that we actually use Yoda in. Yoda movement is very broken in this game. It's very cool. We're also going to start to see our first Yoda clips in this level as well. As you can see, the animation canceling tech that I talked about before, he's able to just disintegrate Boba because he has no invincibility frames in that fight. But one of the coolest tricks in the game here, leverless, he will be able to do a very well-timed and well-spaced fly with Boba, and by switching to Yoda, he's actually landing on a pixel there. You don't need to switch to Yoda, but he switches to Yoda and lands on a pixel there to get a jump off of that little like circle thingy that's just in the wall. And it's not super precise, but it's a pretty hard trick to do. So it's one of the coolest ones. And then this is our first Yoda clip of the run. So as you can see, he can just triple jump from Yoda to Droideka, and he will just go straight through that wall. You will see a couple hundred more of those. So
it has something to do with Yoda's weird hitbox when he
right.
uses his lightsaber, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's very small, and I think that is what causes it to work. Although Droideka is part of it, not for every clip. You know, you don't need Droideka for every clip, but there are some clips that specifically require Droideka. I think the first one we'll see is in Cloud City Trap, which is in 3 levels from now. But yeah. And coming up on Jabba's, we're gonna see 2 things. One, a lot of Yoda clips, and a lot of characters that should not be on the character wheel. So be prepared for that. Normally in a run, you would actually have the Gonk droid here. Yes, there is Han and Carbonite, in case you guys were not up to date with the lore. He is here in Jabba's with us.
Alright, normally...
we do actually get Womperat. So.
Normally I would triple jump over this, but I'm just going to do this because I have Han and Carbonite.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's possible with Han and Carbonite.
Oops.
Yeah, so... Okay, the spider's really on this panel here. So as you can see, it's a lot of switches here. Alright, he's going to use Vader out of bounds. Normally we would use Gonk, who is very fast because of the Super Gonk Extra, as you guys might be familiar with. But we, can't really get over to Gonk fast enough to use him out of bounds with all these characters in the way. And we'll also see a glimpse of that, although I guess you could use Womperat here on this one, but... yeah, so a lot of characters have different movement speeds, and it makes it very interesting because, like, some characters have high movement speed in the air, or some are just on the ground. So, like, Droideka, the reason we're not using Droideka everywhere out of bounds, as you might be wondering, is because he's actually unable to move out of bounds, which is very interesting. I think it's a trait of, like, droids specifically. Some droids, not all of them, but, like, Droideka obviously not able to jump for one, and also just falls when you're out of bounds with Droideka. Is kind of a very weird feature of him. But so we don't use him out of bounds, and we also try to use characters like Jar Jar, Magna Guard, and Gonk Droid, which is more of like a walk speed, and that just means that when they're running out of bounds, they'll be able to move faster. We are about to conclude episode 6.
This is one of the hardest episodes too. Yeah, normally I'd be leaving this episode over a minute.
Yeah. Not super consistent. I would say for the most part, the inconsistent part of this episode is the beginning, and the rest of it is a little more consistent. I think as we get deeper into the run, the gameplay gets a lot more consistent, just because. The prequels specifically have a lot less going on in them. A lot less RNG, just very simple, straightforward movement. A few less clips, really.
Ooh, nice.
So, do you get Grievous? Okay,
I did get Grievous.
He's going to be able to do a wall climb here to skip a panel. And obviously, as you can see, he got General Grievous on his character wheel. As you guys may know, it is RNG what characters you get on your character wheel. Depending on which characters we're referring to here. So obviously, you could get TC-14 or you could get C-3PO because it's just a random protocol droid, but we only have one bounty hunter bot on this file, which is Boba Fett, so we're always going to get him as the bounty hunter. All right, force pull here. Sure.
Oh,
yeah, so normally we would force push him into the wall, but we're going to pull him towards us because now that's the price of $45, I guess. And as you can see, we just did a very interesting set of actions, I guess I'll say, which is, for those of you who are familiar with Falcon lists in story, or any percent, I should say, we basically just did the same thing. We're able to deload the Falcon at the end of the level by going all the way back to the that big door where we do door clip from in any percent, and we're able to basically deload the Falcon, which will despawn all of the troopers who would normally spawn there. And you know, by doing that, we can basically just walk into the Falcon instead of... Is this scolding?
No.
Okay. We can basically just walk into the Falcon instead of defeating the end platform.
It was sub 2 though.
Yeah, that is very hard to get. That's a very good split. But yeah, as I mentioned, the RNG from high rolling Grievous can save you a couple seconds. And as we get into Cloud City Trap, this is where I would say the run gets unbelievably broken. You start to... Okay, yeah, you start to... We skip our first entire room, I think, in this level. I may be wrong, but it's something like that. This level, I think, is like a very good showcase of how broken free play is. So the first thing we can do is we can skip this door just by clipping right over it, which will skip a panel animation. You can skip this camera pan by swapping, which you can do in any percent as well, but obviously isn't faster. And now as we enter DVT, we do not even need to go over to the right. We can actually go straight to DV2 and stay out of bounds in DV2 to hit the transition to DV3. That probably looked like a very confusing sequence of events to anyone who's not familiar with that skip, but yeah, it is very, very precise, although we do have some consistent setups for it. So this is a pretty good split, actually. Yeah, so overall, that level is just kind of like a conglomeration of all the like free play tech I've been, you know, referencing throughout the run.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say episode 5 is probably the hardest episode as well. There's just so much execution and stuff.
Might be the most RNG as well because of Falcon Flight and Hoth. There isn't a ton of RNG in free play, which is one of the biggest appeals of it, because obviously since we have invincibility and we're kind of just skipping all the enemies anyway, we don't really have to worry about dying, which is a part of any percent that a lot of people probably don't think about being very RNG heavy, but yeah, a lot of deaths that we take in any percent. This is interesting movement here, but anyway, so this is a cool skip. We're able to land on the button, even though it's in the water. We can just jump on it, and we can just fly across from that button. And we're able to do another fly here.
Ooh.
Yeah, if Yoda obviously being shorter than Boba, if you switch him too early, his head will be fully submerged under the water, and he will die. Because the way that the toxic water, I guess, in this level works is that if you're completely underneath of it, you will die. So that's why Yoda dies a little earlier than some other characters. It's also why you can walk through it with Ton Wei. You know, if you're ever bored, Magna Guard or Ton Wei, you know, just go on a little walk through the Dagobah Swamp.
Stroll.
Yeah. So this is another cool skip here. We're going to actually be able to skip the entire Vader fight by going out of bounds. And hopefully he will be going for a skip on this camera pan as well, by upwarping directly into the transition, or a little bit in front of it and walking in. Oh, just barely got it. Yeah, that's a pretty precise one. Oh, you are... Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say... Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty hard triple jump to get. I mean, so that... You probably heard me mentioning hard clips and hard triple jumps, which I should probably clarify why that even exists. And there's a couple of reasons. I would say the first reason for clips being hard is because truthfully, every single clip in this game is very different, and whether it has to do with the fact that the collision is different in different places, or sometimes the ceiling's at a different height, or sometimes you're even just clipping into a different place. But every clip is super different, different timing, different spacing, different positioning. And so that's why this category is so hard, because it may look like we're just doing the same piece of tech every time. But if I tell any free play runner the difference between the clip in Escape and the clip in Vader, they know that there's a massive, massive difference between the two. And so that's what makes this category so interesting, and also so I guess, like, skill intensive.
Yeah, it's very, like, minute on the timing differences as well.
Yeah. Which is also why this category takes so much practice.
Yeah.
Very, very tight timings on a lot of these tricks. So, Falcon Flight is probably the most boring level in the free play run. It's actually not even close, really. I mean, because you might think, oh, well, Coruscant's more boring, but just wait, just wait.
You can actually clip through these barriers. I don't think the first one is fast in free play, though it might be.
Either way, it's not super worth, because they just save a small amount of time, and this level's so inconsistent already that keeping it consistent up to that point is usually not a bad idea. And I guess I should mention, since we haven't really been talking about it, so ship 1P2C is interesting because obviously both ships can switch to any ship at any time. And I talked about Arc Fighter clipping. You're actually going to see him later in this level switch to the Falcon, because the torpedoes, as you can see, we have these tiny little torpedoes on the pod racer right now, and we're not totally sure if this is placebo or not, but it seems like the Falcon's torpedoes being bigger actually makes it a lot easier for them to target on the boulder, and so that's what we'll see here coming up. This is a very fast boulder that we got going.
I don't like this. Slow down.
So this is probably the biggest source of RNG in the entire free play run, I would say. It's either that or Hoth, probably, because Jedi Battle in this... I don't think so.
I think I'm just seeing all the tractor beams go off.
Yeah, so tractor beam makes this exciting, so, if you guys were bored by the gameplay, at least you've got a lot of TIE fighters on the screen to take care of your ambitions. I think this is the last target.
Yeah.
It should be.
Okay.
Yeah. So, not terrible. But yeah, big source of RNG in this category.
Now we get one of the hype levels, though.
One of the hardest levels, I would say. Very, very interesting one. A lot of clips. Typically regarded as, like, the free play level in this game, just with how many clips and how movement eccentric it is. So this first clip is one of the more lenient ones, but it's basically going to allow him to stay kind of like on the edge of the inbounds plane and skip both of those rooms by rolling around them with Droideka, which is a pretty cool strat. That was found somewhat recently. I can't quite remember who found it. It was like Parker or Cedomastic or something. We see another clip here, though, and this is a really good example of how clips in this game can vary so much. That clip specifically works most efficiently if you swap and slam at almost at the exact same time. You kind of want like a 1 frame difference between the slam and the swap, and that's because that gives you the most I guess velocity on your triple jump. So you'll go high. That's why you can also go the highest with the triple jump by doing that. But yeah, you kind of want that upwards velocity, which will shoot you through the ceiling, and obviously the higher speed you go, the easier it is to clip through a door that's, or I guess a corner like that. You also saw him just clip straight into the Falcon there, because unlike I guess Bespin and DSE, the door is actually just there, so we can go right into it.
All right.
And here's our next Arc Fighter clip. This one's a little bit more finicky, and not the clip itself, but the movement afterwards. Actually, you'll see he's able to go right on the front of the wall, I guess, and by doing that, he can kind of hit the door that should normally be below that, but happens to extend up into the like top of the wall, and he can actually hit it from above. Very, very unique clip. You really do not see much like that in this game. This isn't the other heavy RNG point of the run. Although I will say this level recently, with the addition of the full 1P2C in the arena, has gotten a lot more skill intensive and just interesting in general. But as you can see, he's using Vehicle Smart Bomb. This is done at 90% as well. And that's going to allow him to just detonate these enemies on screen as soon as he sees them by holding down special. And that was pretty good RNG. But the main source of RNG, I would say, is probably... Well, I guess it's not really one or the other, but there's definitely a little bit of RNG with where these AT-ATs spawn, because if they spawn together, you can tow both of them at the same time. But as you see in this instance, did not spawn next to the other one.
Oops.
And
notice the
here.
tow Death Star, baby.
See, this is just a sick extra. Alright. And he's going to go find the other AT-AT, which happens to be pretty close, but as you can see, like, he did have to make the trek all the way around, and not able to tow them both at the same time, so... And then the last wave, obviously just a combination of the previous 3 waves, so a little bit less RNG intensive, but that's pretty much, that's episode 5. I mean, this is one of the most difficult episodes, if not the most difficult episode in the game, so I would say this didn't even go too badly. But yeah, it's generally like a pretty interesting, like, I guess, mix of all the mechanics in this episode. You kind of get one of everything.
Yeah. I'd say episode 4 coming up is one of my favorites to play, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just very consistent with the gameplay. Not a lot of RNG. And yeah, theoretically, you shouldn't mess up anything.
Right, shouldn't. I believe the only RNG in this episode is probably just, like, the civilians in the spaceport,
yeah.
Which fortunately is not the biggest deal ever. Alright, so this is Smoke Skip. Able to get that first try. That isn't... I mean, it is technically a 1 try, but that's just if you miss it, there's a backup clip. But as you could see, he basically, instead of having to kill those 12 troopers that come out there, he was able to just hit the door without even loading them in. What he just did there was called Vader Skip, and that's basically clipping into the, because obviously that room is huge, as you saw, just clipping into the back of that room and kind of just going around where the Vader room is, able to skip that entire fight. And we're seeing a lot of clips right now. This level, another one of the Yoda clip-laced levels. There's a lot in this one. This is also one of the hardest ones.
Yeah, have not self-destructed yet.
Not yet. For those not aware, self-destruct works with any droid, even Droideka, but most commonly you would use it with, I guess, like C-3PO or TC, because you can just spam the special button when you're trying to use the panel. Some mini kits in that escape pod, Evan, if you want to go. Okay, well, that's unfortunate. Not going to get those mini kits. But
we'll come back. We'll come back and.
Yeah. Now maybe you guys can stay tuned for T-Fresh's LSW2 all mini kits run, and there you can see some mini kits collected in that escape pod.
Yeah, as you can see, this is the reason why we play episode 4 up, because you can't end secret plans with anything other than the astromech.
Right.
And we want Droideka movement into episode 3, so we just play this episode up.
Mind if I read a quick donation?
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got $25 from Caleb. That says, "This is my 2nd year watching LEGOthon, and I really like what you're doing. Keep it up. By the way, I would really like to watch the ride free play for pirates, and with that, the ride free play incentive has been met for Lego
Let's
Pirates
go.
tomorrow. So thank you for the donation.
Alright, so a lot of movement in this level. It's going to be a little different with Droid 1 as player 3 here. But, yeah, this level definitely gets very heavily affected by extra toggle, but once we get past it, extra toggle won't start to do much. Oh, well, I guess that's a bad way of saying it. It won't start to change much from the original run. So just a few more Yoda clips. Definitely a good example of how the Yoda clips are very different in every level. This one has very unique ones. I'm not sure what strat Evan will be doing in this room.
We're gonna try this.
Okay.
Nice.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, so normally you would have Gonk in this level, which makes pretty much just like everything in the level. Yeah, I was very worried you're gonna miss that. Oh, nice. The Droid 1 triple jump. Yeah,
we get to take the scenic route up here.
Yeah, this is the Xehanort route. But yeah, so normally you would have Gonk, which makes every triple jump in this this level very, very easy, but because we don't, it'll be a little different. And now you guys get to see Speeder Clip, which you may or may not be familiar with. But we can just turn the speeder into any character, Droideka being the easiest, presumably because of his speed. I'm not totally sure. And he'll just go right through that door. Yeah. Alright, so now this is where we would normally turn extra toggle on in the run. So things are going to be pretty much nothing different for the next 4 levels. But then you will get back to our usual shenanigans.
And shenanigans there will be.
Yeah, yeah. So the reason we turn on extra toggle at this point is, I guess you'll see here in the next room, but this is where our player 3 on extra toggle becomes Womp Rat. And like I mentioned before, Droideka cannot go out of bounds, but the other thing is that Droideka in the air does not have the speed that he does on the ground. In fact, he's one of the slowest characters in the air. And so we're going to be doing all our triple jumps in this this level, and pretty much from here on out in the rest of this episode, to our player 3, who will be an extra toggle character. And as you can see, Womp Rat in the air actually does have a lot of speed. Womp Rat is the same speed as Droideka. Of course, not able to shoot, but that's not going to be of concern here.
Not when he's looking fly like this.
That's right.
The disguise on.
And we're going to do Spy Fight skip here in a much different way than you would normally see in story. We're actually able to do a clip that gets us on top of this wall, and then we can triple jump over the trigger and just go right into the door with the Womp Rat. And so now we get into the Death Star levels, Princess and Death Star Escape, where we have Mouse Droid on the wheel, and that makes for some really, really cool movement, and you're going to see a lot of that. Alright, so Evan is going to hit this door out of bounds, as you can see, doing a double jump with the Imperial Engineer as he enters that room, because for those of you not aware, when you enter a room, you temporarily cannot move in a direction, but you are able to jump. So by doing that double jump, we're able to get a little bit of distance. And this level is one of the most, I guess, like, precise levels in the game, because all the clips they're not punishing, but they're just very, like, specific. And we'll see a cool skip here in this room as well. So like I mentioned earlier, some clips don't require Yoda, they require Droideka. And so he just went from C-3PO to Droideka, and Droideka's giant body was able to push him out of bounds. And Mouse Droid, being way faster than Droideka, both in bounds and out of bounds, and in the air and on the ground, will be our character of choice for these 2 levels.
DSC is also very interesting because of the the way we set up Falconless in free play, which you'll see in a second.
Yeah. Oh, very low here.
That should be fine.
Should be okay though. And able to just kind of clip through that wall there because there's just no collision above the door. This is a very interesting skip. He's actually going to skip the entirety of the pre-Ripmore section, as we call it, and go straight to the post-Ripmore section because it's all one big room. So I think that's pretty cool. And so this is the Falconless setup in this category. If you blink, you missed it. It's very interesting. But basically, we are able to hit the Falconless trigger and then call back in. And the way that free play dropping in works is if we call in another player, they'll call in right wherever we are. And so he calls in player 2, and it calls in player 2 because they're on screen, so back at the original point, and the player 1 just gets warped to where player 2 is because the camera's pulling them. That's very complicated, but that's just kind of the gist of it.
Yeah. And Rebel Tag here is where we would normally turn X toggle off. So from here on out, there's going to be some shenanigans.
Yeah. Specifically episode 1 and 3, I think. Alright, first try on the room 1 clip. That's actually a really, really precise clip. One of the hardest clips in the game. Definitely the hardest ship level clip in the game, by far. You have to switch to Arc Fighter at a very precise time, move forward just a tiny bit, and then switch back to Pod Racer. This one, however, very, very easy. You can just, as you see, just switch to Arc Fighter and then right back to Pod Racer. This one a little bit harder. We do a roll setup to get into the right position. And yeah, pretty good Rebel attack so far. Kind of 1P2C the end section, just like we do in story. Pause champ.
Oh, that's a big goal.
Oh my god, yeah, I was gonna say. So, yeah, that's a CG right there, I believe.
129.4, by the way.
Wow. 0.6 CG. Yeah, in this category, a lot of the CGs are more optimized, and a lot of the CGs are less optimized than any percent because, obviously, in a few levels, there's just not as much, and the gameplay is more consistent, but, you know, not as heavily run. But free play is definitely the second most popular category in this game, so it's pretty cool to see how it's been optimized recently. Evan making probably the biggest push for optimization of the categories ever seen in the last year or so.
You'll notice at the beginning I switched to Vader there. The reason you want to do that is Yoda is actually too slow in the beginning. Oops. Of that beginning section, so he'll actually just die in the lava if you don't switch off of him.
And we get some cool movement here. As you can see, he's doing a jump slashes with Yoda. Yoda actually gets a lot of velocity and distance with his jump slashes, so the more jump slashes we can do, we will try to do as many as we can, basically. Alright, so we're going to do an interesting strat, I believe a Karate Swords exclusive. Basically, if you either force choke or force lightning your player 2 and throw them off the edge, they will take 9 hearts of damage. I have no idea why, but they just do. And so we're able to do that end section very fast.
Yeah, very interesting piece of tech here.
We're also going to be able to do a very kind of unique triple jump to skip this door. We're basically just going to the top of it. And then switching to R2, who is smaller than any normal character would be. And we're able to just kind of go through this little gap. Ah, yes. Training Orb, unfortunately, does not get a lot of height. you know, when you triple jump to him. So not going to be optimal there. And we will see our free play version of Library Skip, which is just a Yoda clip. Although I believe it requires both Yoda and Droideka to do so.
Yes, it does. Very, very interesting level here. A lot of,
Yeah, a lot of rolling.
Yeah.
Here you go. So by basically slashing or just jumping underneath the right side of that circle, when we switch to Droideka from Yoda, it'll push us out just enough to push us forward instead of the left or right.
Alright, and we are going to check if we get Grievous in this level.
Oh, man.
Hopefully we
I
do.
hope.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
Marathon run, high rolled
Left
Grievous
side
both
clip.
times.
Okay, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there is a very inconsistent clip on the left side of that room found by Pickletoe that is like actually like the hardest clip in the game. It saves like 7 or 6 seconds or something like that. But we are able to skip this Order 66 and or just the Order 66 section with that clip, and then we can skip the saving the Wookiee section with this clip. Both also very unique clips in the sense that you don't need to triple jump technically for either of them. It's just switching to Droideka that will clip you out. And some precarious movement around the kill plane there, able to enter the beach pretty quickly. As you can see, 3 mini-kits in this room. I mean, that's just... Look at these. They're lit up with the arrows. I mean, it's hard to miss them.
We're going to miss them.
Unfortunately, we're not going to be collecting any of them. One of the good examples of having to get a good triple jump there was what we just saw as he triple jumped up to that platform. You need quite a bit of height, and as I said, the closer together your slam and switch are, the more height you'll get because of the difference in velocity. Alright, so Evan is going to go for a unique exclusive wall climb here. If you high roll Grievous, you can actually wall climb on the right side of this room, and then most people don't switch to the protocol droid there at the end. But yeah, pretty cool wall climb. It does save like 1.5 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, we definitely saved time with it there.
Matter of opinion, I would say.
Also, I never really mentioned it, but it's actually faster to kind of do these slashes with Yoda and then right back to Droideka when you're going up a slope, because Droideka's movement speed is severely decreased when you're going upwards.
Yeah. It kind of... The thing is, if you are walking with any character, it kind of does the same thing. You kind of basically want to just be jumping up with any character, but the thing is, we emulate jumping by doing a jump slash instead.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say anything until this level is over. I'll just let you guys enjoy this. So, basically, if you guys are familiar with how this works in any percent, when you are not on that big circle platform, when Grievous takes damage, he won't progress to his next cycle. So we can hit him with splash damage. So the way that was found was a runner by Fezteo, by the name of Fezteo, found a setup where you can throw bombs with a bounty hunter, and if you hit him while you're not on the platform, he's not going to go to his next cycle. So one interesting thing, though, is that if we just stay on there, we can actually do all 10 hearts, and if we use the Super Ewok Catapult, it actually has like this perfect angle to where it can just slope right down from that rock and hit him all 10 times, and it shoots as fast as a blaster. So one of the things that if you, I guess, told a runner from 3 years ago that they would be using Super Ewok Catapult to save 45 seconds, probably would not believe you, but...
Unfortunately, missed the transition grab there. You can actually grab it out of bounds. It is really precise, though.
I was gonna say this level is one of the hardest levels in the prequels. There's a lot in this one.
I would say execution-wise, this is maybe the hardest level to play close to your gold.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot of stuff that you can only try once. And a lot of technical clips.
Yeah, and the architecture of this level does make the movement like a little awkward.
Yeah.
So some Yoda slashes into that room, emphasizing what I kind of mentioned before about you don't really have any movement at the beginning of a room.
Yeah.
You enter.
Yeah, I actually did some really specific character management there because oftentimes when you end this level, for whatever reason, you'll just randomly have C-3PO instead of Droideka. I'm still not really sure why it happens because you'll end the level with Droideka and Yoda, but you'll get C-3PO.
Yeah.
So, I enter that room. This will be explained in a second.
Yeah. You guys are confused.
I enter that room with Yoda and then make sure that player 1 switches to Droideka first, so that player 1 never switches off of Droideka until the very end, and then player 2 switches to Droideka. Just ensures you get the right characters.
Yeah. So if you guys are wondering why there are two giant mustached up falcons pushing each other forward, that is the exact reason. They are actually pushing each other forward in this level. So Coruscant is one of the craziest free play optimizations. This was actually found by me and Justin by accident in a challenge co-op run as kind of like a joke. But we switched to the Imperial shuttle and we were like, okay, what if you just like push the other person forward? Because they're huge ships, right? So you're like constantly pushing against them when you're behind them. And we got record by like 10 seconds and we were like, oh, that's interesting. And so it turns out that, using 1P2C Millennium Falcon strats, otherwise known as big boy strats or shuttle boosting, pushing the other player forward, I don't know, I think it saves like 15
It saves like
seconds
15 or 16 seconds in free play.
Yeah, it's crazy. It also obsoletes the death strat, which was done before. It was also a little inconsistent when we did it. But yeah, it's a very unique development in free play. Just a good example of these skips that you would not really expect anyone to find.
Yeah.
And as you can see, he's also dragging the camera just to basically make the direction of the auto-scroller go the way that he wants it.
You do have to be careful when you're doing this in free play, especially with these two ships, because if you run into the corners enough in some specific spots in the level, you can actually fall off the spline that's carrying you to the end of the level, and so you'll just fall into the endless void.
Yeah, it's lonely down there.
Yeah, there's nothing down there, and you can't get back up, so you don't want to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
You also saw him switch to Pod Racer as he was going through that hallway, which technically you don't have to do, but obviously it's very, very hard to not hit a wall in that tiny space.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna grab this one with you.
Okay, thank God. Oh wait, you're gonna get a
Actually, yeah, I probably should not have done that.
Okay, you guys get to see a gold brick cutscene at the end of this level. Probably the only one throughout the entire run. This is a good example of why you don't want to get true Jedi on a free play file during a run.
Yeah. The gold brick cutscenes add about 7 seconds.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. You can't skip them past 61. Or I guess past 60.
Yeah. So, here we go. Nice.
73.
Absolute juicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once you hit 60 gold bricks, you see that after every gold brick you get in a level, I'm pretty sure.
It's very weird. I'm not sure if that's even intentional.
Yeah, it really seems like a hilarious design choice. Oh.
Now we get to witness free play Dooku skip, which is actually completely different than what you'd expect if you've only seen the story variant. So he's going to use the Magna Guard out of bounds. Like I mentioned, his movement speed is just a little higher than a normal character. And he is entering, as you probably noticed, with not Droideka, but the Emperor. That is because the AI, and your character is actually counted as AI during this cutscene, does not like to stay as Droideka. In fact, it cannot be Droideka. So if you ever have player 2 as Droideka, they will instantly switch off to Yoda. And Yoda, during that cutscene, just likes to put his lightsaber away. And as you can imagine, Yoda with his lightsaber away is not very fast. So...
yeah, I don't know the exact timing on how much it loses.
It's gotta be like 30 seconds.
I don't know if it's that much.
A lot.
Oops. But it is like at least 20.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I think I lost about 8 seconds to that Goldbrick cutscene, judging by my entrance to the end fight, so... bit unfortunate, but prices had to be paid for 10 mini-kits.
Yeah. I mean, thank God he got a mini-kit there. I would have been pretty mad if he didn't. Anyway, Gunship, another very good example of a piece of tech that we will never see again, or anywhere else in the entire game, and that is infinite flying. So, yeah, as you can see, he just flew, which sounds weird because you're flying with these ships, but he goes out of bounds here and he just spams the switch button, and he's able to fly at any height he wants. It's basically, I think it's like when you swap, you get pushed slightly upwards in this level. So by spamming it, you just keep moving upwards and you never actually lose any height. And it's only in this level because, oh well, this is managed to save that one. Yeah, it's only in this level because in this level you descend slower than you know, something like Rebel Attack, where you just fall out of bounds instantly. This is pretty, this end room's pretty similar to any percent. Just able to get some pod racer movement at the end, though.
Alright, Jedi Battle. I see a lot of studs flying around here.
If you guys want to make guesses in the chat as to how many studs he will get during this level, place your bets now. He does have all the stud multipliers on and character studs, so pillars alone, this first pillar should give him like 10 million. You know, studs are not tight around here, that's for sure. Look at that.
We are making some bank here.
But yeah, this level is definitely less RNG dependent than the notorious story version of it. But that's just because you have EBB and Droideka, so you can get around more quickly, you can kill things, you know, at a higher rate, and it's just generally like less of a big deal if you get bad RNG because you can just move over there quicker.
Right.
As you can see, he's kind of just animation canceling, just spamming shots into the crowd. And if he sees one, he'll shoot it, but other than that, you're kind of just like hoping that you'll hit one.
The Jedi are super annoying in this level too because they like to deflect your bullets.
Yeah.
As you saw when I was trying to get that one up the top, that Jedi was protecting the droid for some reason. Might be a separatist.
Yeah. 3 off the bat here. And this is what I mean. He didn't even see them. He kind of just blindly shot them. That's something you cannot do in any percent. And we got one more droid here. Clean up. And there he is behind him. So that was a good wave too. And then we get our first taste of Super Jedi Slam strats. Piloted by myself. Very proud of this one. You can do a Super Jedi Slam by doing a double jump slam with the Super Jedi Slam extra on. Yeah, very, very interesting. But actually, what you'll see at the end of Camino is that Super Jedi Slam will basically make the slam have a giant hitbox and last for way longer. So it won't give them iframes, and you can hit them on the first frame that they become vulnerable. But as we get into Camino, we get to see... Oh, I guess this is Droid Factory. But as we get into Camino, we get to see like one of the best examples of like one of the most difficult levels in prequels, because we barely get any like super hard levels besides Chancellor in prequels, and then like Theed and Maul basically are the only really other ones. And so it's pretty cool that Episode 2 has Camino. Droid Factory, though, is pretty much just movement. A lot of people's favorite free play level, or one of their favorites, just because of the amount of movement you can do. Definitely not mine, but you know, some other people maybe. Also, a unique Yoda clip there. I guess a Droideka clip, I would assume, as Droideka kind of pushes you into that door, and you can upwarp into it for some reason.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite free play levels just because of the high intensity movement, especially in the bucket room. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. This is what makes free play so fun, is very fast paced. It's a completely different skill set, I would say, than the other categories like 90% or AM or whatever. It's very different because you don't really... It's not about playing consistently necessarily, but it's about playing optimally. So it's kind of like the more fun side of 90% that we don't really get to do very often, because we kind of have to play consistently, but shorter run and more fast paced.
It's also like the character wheel works out really perfectly, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
Which makes it all the more fun, as opposed to some other games.
Yeah, like LSW1 is a good example of that category. Is just not as popular in that game, even though it's actually kind of similar. It's just that the character wheel is RNG, and that's not very fun.
Yeah.
But you saw a very decently well-spaced fly with Boba to skip that first bridge, and you see a couple Yoda clips here. Not able to skip this with the Yoda clip. You just have to do the panel.
This coming Yoda clip is an example of how they're super different. So that one is like a super delayed timing between your slam and switch. For whatever reason, if you just do them at the same time, like a lot of the other ones, you actually just won't be able to clip through. You'll just kind of do a normal triple jump.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Most likely, I think it's probably how high the ceiling is that has to do with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a strat that probably looks very confusing. I guess the best way I can explain this is Django is very far behind us right now. So if we reach the other side, he doesn't want us to reach the other side yet. And obviously we're able to with the Boba fly, but he doesn't want us to. So he's going to despawn us. He can only despawn one at once though. So if we reach the other side with another player right after he's despawned player 2, he won't despawn that player. And we can just cross and do a clip to get into the top of the elevator.
Almost pulled out my bounty hunter rockets there.
Yeah. Might be able to show those off. But yeah, these are Super Jedi Slam strats here. You can see he's kind of getting hit well after the slam, but that's just because it lasts for so long. Slams already do have a lasting hitbox, but it makes it a lot longer. And that's Camino. BHP, the next level, one of the, I would say, the most awkward levels in the entire run.
I would say the most awkward level.
Yeah, it feels very weird.
It's very,
to do the second room.
It's very clunky. So if you don't know something about infinite torpedoes, you'll notice all these mini kits that I'm supposed to collect. Infinite torpedoes actually have a delayed timer on how fast you can shoot them, as opposed to not having infinite torpedoes. So when we play this in any percent, you don't have any delay, because obviously you don't have infinite torpedoes. But here we have to wait a very long time. We need to skip this first room. Clip, but
thank God, yeah.
Yeah. but you'll notice I have to wait a very long time to shoot.
Yeah, so like because you can shoot 3 torpedoes in sequence, but otherwise it tries to respawn and the only way you can avoid. Yeah, see, this is just one of the. It's a very weird level. It tries to give you a new torpedo, and that's why it's so awkward, because either you wait for the new torpedo, or there's like a 2-frame timing, I think, where you can shoot it before it gives you a new torpedo. And so you can see we're kind of just spamming the torpedoes there.
Yeah. You'll also notice I skipped one on the top right. If you don't know, you actually don't need to blow up the middle one on the top right for whatever reason.
Yeah, one of the unexplained mysteries of this game.
I don't know why that is the case, but you can just skip it. And it's really nice for free play because you don't have to sit there and wait.
Yeah. Also, the quick kill, obviously, that's one that you miss if you blink. Yeah. It's basically just Zam doesn't have any invincibility frames, so we can just go ham, all 10 hearts in like 1 second. Alright, so negotiations, we get to see another Droideka clip. We're able to clip out with this box here, and what you notice is that the droids are actually not aggroed at all, which is good, because if they were, there would be a very high chance that we would destroy that box by accident. And the reason they're not aggroed is because, like if you guys watched the TCS DS free play run, we also use Ghost Yoda as our character of choice, and that means that enemies will kind of ignore us, which is very nice.
Yeah. And they also don't aggro on droids.
Yeah, so you'll see that typically in most levels, once you switch to like Droideka and shoot, or like you switch to like the Emperor, or I don't know exactly how it does it, but you know, some levels do it differently. But they'll usually aggro once you like force something or shoot or switch to like a good guy, so to speak.
This is a really high level.
Yeah, we're able to triple jump over everything in this level. This is the movement level. It's really, really fun. It's one of my favorite levels. And it's also a good example of, as you just saw there, he kind of clipped into the side of the wall with Droideka, and because he switched to Droideka while he was like kind of in the wall, it treated it as a floor almost.
Just like right there as well.
It did it again, yeah, there, and that allows you to get some like grounded Droideka movement, which is obviously way faster than any character in the air in this level. So it's actually one of the very interesting parts about free play is that like every single second of movement in the entire run is like intentional. So even right there, it might look like, okay, you just do a triple jump and then switch back to Droideka, but ideally you're switching at a specific time to get a very specific set of movement.
I also don't think we've mentioned it once, but the reason I'm Yoda slashing through all these transitions is you actually can't switch, or you can't move with Droideka for a little bit once you enter a transition, but you can actually attack, so we just do slashes with Yoda so we can get some extra movement.
Yeah, and that actually ends up saving like a minute throughout the run.
Yeah. So you see, like right there, I wasn't able to move. I just accidentally missed it right there, but... And we don't do it in some places. Like right there, if I just did it, I would just attack the droids right next to me.
Yeah, sometimes you're facing just like a bad direction as well. But so this is also an interesting clip here. You kind of clip between the targets, or like between the top of the target and the, I don't know, whatever that is, the like ceiling or the little like catwalk up there. I'm not sure what it is, but escape one of the more snooze fest levels in this game, because there's 2 clips and that's it.
Yeah. You have to be careful at the end though, because if you Yoda slash into that end transition, there's actually a chance you hit the corner and like miss it, and then you'll just fall through the floor. You'll be soft walked.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't slash into that transition. We just enter with
Yeah,
direct.
if you do that, it's actually possible to triple jump out. It's like the hardest triple jump in the game, which is kind of funny.
I don't know.
But yeah. So okay, here in Pod Race, you see a lot of arrows, and that's because you know, Evan, he doesn't really like the casual side of this game, so he likes to leave the mini kits.
I'm a big hater of all mini kits.
Yeah.
Worst category.
Honestly, I agree. Anyway, so basically what we'll see here later in this level is pod fraud. This is a trick to skip lap 2. Not entirely skip lap 2, but basically speed through lap 2 of the pod race. Obviously, if you've seen any percent, you know this trick already. It's the 4th level. But in free play, it's actually a little easier, and that's basically because there's no cutscene when you hit the lap trigger here. It's pretty complicated to explain the entire thing, but basically what he's doing is he's basically doing what would be like equivalent to like an ultra shortcut. That is... okay. Almost missed that. It's basically what would be equivalent to an ultra shortcut in Mario Kart Wii. By hitting right here, we're going to hit a checkpoint. That tells us we have now completed lap 2, even though we actually haven't. So when we hit the finish line, it just goes straight to lap 3, even though we didn't actually play the entire second half of lap 2. And we're able to stay out of bounds after lap 1 because it doesn't actually like reload the room when you hit lap 1.
Yeah. And I almost messed it up there. I paused a little too early because I thought my player 2 would have hit the lap trigger already, but he didn't. Which is nice about free play, that you can notice that right away with the icons that show up.
Yeah.
So those popped up, and I noticed I was still in lap 1, so I had to traverse a little farther into the lap.
That is the one part of it that is a little like more weird about free play though, is that because there's no cutscene, you have to pause when you assume that they have hit past the lap, and it's not too hard, but it is a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we just do it at the end there for some extra speed.
Yeah, you saw him go kind of hyper speed on the death plane in the middle. And Feed is probably the hardest level in this episode. It's that or Maul. This one is, I mean, it depends what you do in this level, but it's got a lot of difficult movement. Very, very awkward section in Feed 1, as you'll see, with, I don't know what Evan plans to do there, but so there's this first clip. Kind of, it's you know, relatively consistent, but that's a very unique clip.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one of those ones where you want to slam and switch like right at the same time. And so yeah, in Feed 1, which is the room after this, we will see a very good demonstration of classic free play movement.
Also going to be a very difficult 1P2C that I'm going to attempt here.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that is a very, very hard 1P2C. Speaking from experience.
Oops. Oh, I got my characters all mixed up.
Yeah, and this is why it's so difficult to do. Yeah, that room also it's the second half of that 1P2C. It can be just as difficult sometimes. But as we get into the hangar, you'll see yet another 1P2C. We kind of do this like half 1P2C, half one player, because 1P2C in free play, I guess we haven't really touched on it much, but it's obviously harder just because of the simple fact that there's more controls, right? So controlling a free play character like effectively and accurately, it pretty much always takes both hands. I mean, it's possible to do with one hand, but it's a lot harder. And so most of the 1P2C that you've seen us, I say us, but you know, most of the 1P2C that you've seen Evan do is relatively simple. Not necessarily easy, but simple, like similar to what we would do in an any percent 1P2C. That's just because it's easy for us to hit, special and jump and attack and move, but doing animation cancels and switches and all that stuff, that can actually be very, very difficult. And so that's why we don't want PTC the start of the hangar. We're going to take Grievous into Maul so that we can basically get free cycle skips in the fight at the end.
There's also actually conveniently no fast Yoda clips in this level.
Yeah. Obviously, Yoda would be a little bit faster just because of the movement speed he has in the air. Yoda is actually the fastest character in the air, I believe. Actually, yeah, he for sure is, outside of, Wombat, Mousetrike, whatever. So that's why we want to have him, even in levels without Yoda clips. So here is a very interesting skip. We're basically able to shoot Maul as he continues to block the shots. Oh, he's doing this little thing, yeah. And he's going to keep blocking, and eventually he's going to get shot while blocking back so many times that he's just going to fall off the edge of this giant circle right about here. And because of that, he takes his giant trigger with him below the circle. So he's actually just chilling at the bottom of the kill plane right now. And so we can just go right on through.
Another very interesting design choice.
Yeah, I really have no idea why they did that.
Hey, I'm not complaining.
I believe Super Gonk and Yoda are the same speed in the air. I believe. It's roughly the same, at least. Able to do a camera pan skip here. Is that the only camera pan skip in free play? It might be. I guess there's CCT as well.
Yeah, the CCT one.
Yeah, you don't see many of those. We don't really watch many camera pans in this category, but time is coming up.
Time right now.
Oh, not a bad run at all.
Yeah. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. This was a blast to run. One of my favorite categories, just because of the high speed intensity and just the free play movement in general is a lot of fun.
Yeah, highly recommend this category if you guys have not tried it. Everyone who runs free play always says they enjoy it. It's a nice change of pace to any %, and I think it's also one of the most unique things that makes this game so great is that it has a great story and a great free play. So make sure you guys do try that out if you want to get into running this game.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for watching this run. It's very fun to commentate. Considering you had all extras on, I would say a 110 is a pretty good time to be getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does show the consistency of free play as well, and that's why it's a pretty cool category. But yeah, thank you for having me on, and thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it.